how do you say, the gorgeous?
What is love?
Just hold me tight, no words I needed. No one knows me like you. Love the way you do. Just hold me tight, no words I needed. No one knows me like you. Love the way you do. Just hold me tight, no words I needed.
Hello, hello. Hello, hello. Morning, everybody. Big up everyone that's in the chat. If you'd like and subscribe, that would be amazing. Can you just tell me if my mic's working? Can you tell me if my mic's working? I don't know whether my mic's working. Can you tell me if it is? Big up. Is mic working? Is my mic working? Yeah, great. Okay, 2 seconds, 2 seconds. Right, great. Hope you're all well. Hope you're all well. I was going to do this show a bit later on, but I'm going out, so I wanted to get it done today. It's been absolutely bonkers on the Liverpool front. Absolutely bonkers. I've got loads and loads of stuff that I want to go through. I also want to go through a couple of things around our rivals. Also England, also a couple of players which are now going to be available on the continent, which we can obviously talk about as well. Also a couple of players that have been linked with us that things have happened to over the last couple of days. Also a couple of things about players that weren't potentially on the list of players that were going to leave Liverpool that might well be up for leaving now because of things that have happened, and just go through a couple of threads, couple of web pages. I'm not going to do any player comparisons today. I'm not going to look at any other stuff, but it's just purely Liverpool news and anything related to Liverpool right now. If you've got any questions or anything you want me to cover around certain players that I haven't covered, then put it in the chat. Let me know in the comments, and I'll obviously in the next show, which will be on Friday, I'll pick those things up. But first of all, we're gonna start off with we'll start in goal and we'll kind of work our way through. Okay. So a couple of things I'm going to add is we're going to have a look at oh god, where's this page gone? Here it is. So we're going to have a little look at what's been updated about Queven Keller. So let me just close this. Yeah. So Queven's obviously did the interview with James Pearce from The Athletic, and he was asked about, how he feels about his position. I'm just checking. This is on my page still. Yeah, it is good. And he spoke about the fact that he wants to be first team goalkeeper, and that's fair enough. And I think he should. With a lot of stuff going around about some clubs looking for goalkeepers, and the fact that James Trafford seems to be valued at 20 plus million by Burnley, and he wasn't a great goalkeeper last season. Like, he played half a season and then they dropped him, put their Macedonian goalkeeper in, and they seem to got better. Looks like Queven is now rated at 25 to 30 million, because there's almost any team in the Premier League apart from the top three which the club rate that he could get into, and many clubs on the continent. And Wolves are going to lose their main goalkeeper in Jose Sarr. He's leaving, so they're looking for a replacement. And Queven really fits the bill. So the club rate him at 25 to 30 million, and he is 100% available at that price, because he wants to be a first team goalkeeper and he deserves to be a first team goalkeeper. There is no chance he's going to go to Celtic as a main player signed. He might go there on loan, but I just don't understand why we're going to loan players out who aren't going to play for the team. It's just pointless. Yeah, exactly. We should be asking for 25 to 30 million for him, 100%. So that's the latest update on Queven. No bids have come in. We obviously dismissed a £15 million bid last year from Nottingham Forest for Queven. Obviously, it's not enough money, and I'm glad we dismissed it, because we obviously lost Ali, and then we needed Queven for like half a season. I don't want to lose him, but I also don't want to keep around a lad where we can get 30 million for him, and he's never going to break into the first team if Ali's fit. So, and Ali's 100% staying. So it just makes sense to cash in and maybe put a buy on clause on him, so we can buy him back in a couple of years' time when we need him. But I'm fine with letting him go. I think Jaros is more than capable as a second choice goalkeeper. He's going to the Euros as Czechoslovakia's goalkeeper, as their backup goalkeeper. So we've clearly got another one on the conveyor belt. So I'm fine with him to move on. Next up, I wanted to cover this guy. In fact, actually, I wanted to cover defense now. Let me just find the tag that I had for defense. Here we go. Okay. Right. If you can't see my screen properly, just let me know in the chat, but it looks like it's okay for now. Actually, I'm going to make my face a bit smaller so you can see more. Okay, so the next one up is we're looking at alternatives, as we're now going to cash in on the 28-year-old, and the 28-year-old we're going to cash in on is Kostas Tsimikas. According to Football Insider, Kostas Tsimikas has attracted interest from other clubs, and the Greek international could be moved on. There is some stuff that's coming around from Turkey and that kind of area where there seems to be interest in Tsimikas. The interesting thing is Jose Mourinho is now in charge of Fenerbahce, and Jose Mourinho is looking at a left back. I believe he's made a bid of 25 million for Wan-Bissaka and Scott McTominay, trying to take them off Manchester United's books. I mean, if we can get 20 or 15 to 20 million for Tsimikas from Jose, I'd take that all day long, wouldn't you? If you're looking for a left back, I don't think he's going to get a better one in Tsimikas. Yeah, Virgil will miss him. You're absolutely spot on. It's his mate, but for me, I think it's time to move him on. I think he's been at the club long enough now. He's done 4 years at the club now, nearly 5 years. He's played less than 30 games in the Premier League. He's not seen as a player, as a first team player. He kind of took over from Robbo, and Robbo got injured, and then he got injured, and then Gomez came in and he couldn't get back in the team. And then obviously Robbo came back, then Gomez and him never got back in the team. As a 28-year-old, do you really want to fight for your position like that? And do we need a 28-year-old who's on 70 grand a week, just kicking dirt, not playing any football in the first team? I don't think so. And the fact that we're linked with, Hincapié, Inacio, we're linked with players that can play as a left-sided centre back and also a left back. So it just makes sense that we move him on and cash in now. That's the Tsimikas news. So I'm working my way through defence. Where are we at now? We're at another defender when I can find the page. Actually, we're going to go back to goalkeeper. Sorry. We're going to go back to the goalkeeper situation. New update on Adrian. And Adrian is expected to reject Liverpool contracts because reports are coming in that he's been offered a job. Well, yeah, it is a job. He's been offered a contract at Real Betis as a replacement for Claudio Bravo. So Adrian's looking to move back to Spain, and he will be an alternative to Fran Veritas, taking up a role as so Adrian would join as a backup first choice stopper for Rui Silva, which means he will then move into second choice goalkeeper. And Adrian also came through the Real Betis Academy 15 years ago. So it's his boyhood club. It's kind of where he wants to retire to. It makes sense that he leaves and he goes back. Adrian was kind of doing the coaching duties with John Achterberg and Jack Robinson, and obviously, the fact that we have lost a lot of coaches, did make sense that we kind of retained him. But if you're going to pay, 70 grand for a guy who never plays football and hasn't in the last 2 years, and he's just going to be a coach, then you might as well just get a coach. So move him on. So it looks like he's going to reject that contract and go to Betis, which is good, because we all we all kind of had a meltdown when we heard that he was staying. Also going to have a little talk about another defensive player. This room has actually been squashed by David Lynch, but David Lynch does get a lot of media from Liverpool directly, so it could be a reason why, because we kind of maybe want to keep this one under the radar and to ourselves. But according to Football Insider, Liverpool have concrete interest in Sporting Lisbon centre-back Goncalo Inacio. I think he'd be a great signing. He's valued at 40 million, but it looks like it's now come out that he has a release clause of 51 million, and we have to activate the release clause. That's the only way you're going to get Inacio out of the club. There's a lot of stuff coming from Portugal, which means that they could be trying to just drive interest in getting other teams to sign for the player, because the player's going. The player won't be at Sporting this season. He's moving on to bigger things. So it's an interesting one. And it's a player that I like. Portuguese players work in the Premier League. They just do. It'd be good to have another Portuguese player to kind of keep Jota happy as well. I think he's a good player. He'll be playing in the Euros, so you'll be able to see how he gets on. You'll be able to check him out, see if you think he's good enough for Liverpool. I think he is. I think he's a great player. We're going to move on to another player. Where are we? We're looking at. Where's this update? 2 seconds. We're going to talk about. Oh, that's a terrible picture. Sorry. We're now going to talk about another defender that could be on the move this season. Preston North End are looking at Luke Chambers. I think it makes sense that we kind of get him out on another loan. If he's not going to break into the first, it makes sense that we move him out on loan. So Ryan Lowe is ready to make changes in his squad in the upcoming season. And they've got Ben Woodburn and Greg Cunningham. So on the Anfield sector, loan watch Luke Chambers was substituted. So he played for Wigan last season. Luke Chambers. Obviously, Wigan have now got another Liverpool player on loan this season to play on the right-hand side in Calvin Ramsey. But it looks like Preston North End are looking at Luke Chambers for the left-hand side for this season, and it makes sense. You know, send the player to Wigan. Obviously, what am I talking about? Yeah, okay. Send the player to Wigan and send the player to Preston North End. And obviously, we've got good relationship with Wigan, so it makes sense that we maybe move him out. Maybe put him on half a year's loan, and if it goes well, then we bring him back. But it looks like Luke Chambers could be going out on loan again, which I think's good. We need to get these kids, but I would like some of these players to maybe play in the Premier League, in a lower league team in the Premier League. But yeah, I think Inacio is top class as well. So that's an update on Luke Chambers. I've also got an update on another Liverpool player, which I'm going to cover. but I don't think I've got the tab. Have I not got the tab open? Yep. Okay. This is another Liverpool player. He's just constantly in the news at the moment. You see that? Okay. Yeah. Okay. So obviously he's going to get the number 8 shirt, Stevie Gerrard jet number for England. Everybody's raving about him, thinking that he's going to be our saviour for England, and he's obviously going to play in a central midfield position, which I think Arne Slot might actually look at him for that position next season, due to the fact that he probably won't want to play right back again. However, it doesn't look like we're going to get this contract signed. There seems to be a lot of issues around image rights. There seems to be a lot of issues around money, and also there's other add-ons and other clauses which are taking long time. I don't know. I just don't know. This one's really 50-50 for me. I just feel like he's Madrid bound. He's going to cost them 100 plus million. But the problem is he could also run his contract down. And if he runs his contract down, then there's nothing we can do because we've left it too late. And the fact that we could lose an asset of that type of value to Real Madrid on a free because the club was just run by idiots for the last 4 years is just beyond me. Like, if we lose Trent on a free transfer to Real Madrid next season, then we really do have to ask questions about why on earth Jurgen Klopp decided to be director of football. Like, it's just ludicrous. Like he could be the first, type of player to hit 150 million. It's nuts. If you're looking at anything, then you're looking at maybe a swap for Rodrigo. I mean, that's what you're looking at. If you're looking at maybe getting something out of this, then maybe a swap for Rodrigo, because I just don't see what else we can get. I'm gonna cover the article a bit more. So he's prepared to either push for an exit or even just hold out on his contract, and leave on a free. I really hope he doesn't, but it is something which could happen. I mean, we can talk about like 19 goals, 81 assists. Like, we can talk about all of those things. Like, he's been absolutely sensational. There's no doubt. But it's the fact that there's like rumours coming out that he's getting the nickname of McManaman from his brother, who's his agent, and there's all kinds of mad stuff. I just don't want this to rumble on. I'd love to get him signed down to a contract, but it all depends on where he plays, and if Arne Slot goes, "Nah, you're a right back," and he goes, "Nah, I don't want to be a right back," then we move him to Madrid. Or if Arne Slot goes, "Okay, I'll play you in midfield," then we play him in midfield, and we just end this nonsense of inverted and right back and centre mid, whatever. Just end it. I mean, you can blame Mike Gordon all you want, mate, but it's down to Jurgen Klopp on this one, because Jurgen wanted the power and he got the power and they gave him it, and he was crap. Like, he signed his mate George Smacked. He just wasn't even a director of football. I've no idea what he was doing. Yeah, I'd ask for Valverde as well. Anyway, that's the Trent stuff. Gonna have a look at midfield. Liverpool are favourites to sign £48 million. Edison. Edison he's had 2 caps now for Brazil. He's been absolutely brilliant for Brazil. Like a duck to water. There's really, really interesting news about Atalanta that I wanted to cover. And I know because it's literally just happened yesterday. So it looks like Cooper Mears could be out of the Euros with an injury in the Holland team. That could really scupper our pursuit of Edison now, because he's out of the Euros. Because if he's out of the Euros, then he's going to be available for Juventus or anyone to maybe talk to him during the Euros, and this could leave this open to maybe only Atlanta selling one of their players. I just hope we get Edison in, but there is stuff around. There is a lot of stuff around the fact that I'm going to share this as well. 2 seconds. Yeah. So there is stuff around that Liverpool have been given the green light to go ahead and sign him for 59 million. And that was from La Gazzetta dello Sport. So it's an interesting one. Obviously, Serie A side will only sell one of Cooper Mears or Edison. He's 26. I think he's a bit too old for our committee. But you never know. 29 games in the league last season, contributed in 17 goals, 12 goals and 5 assists, more contributions than any of our midfielders. There's a lot of people that would like Cooper Mears. He potentially got injured. He got injured yesterday, came off. What do you say, chat? What do you say? Would you like Cooper Mears at Liverpool? Yes or no? Let me know. Let me know. Next up, we are going to talk about Yakubu Minter. It looks like Minter's a no-go. It looks like Slot isn't interested in Minter, and also it looks like there's a lot of hype that's being put up about him, and it's probably clickbait. The fact that he was at Feyenoord, he had played with Slot before, but if they think we're going to spend 40 million on this kid who's had one season at Feyenoord, then it's just not going to happen. We may spend less, maybe 20 million, but I can't see it. Happening. However, he is a young player, and he has got a lot of skill, but he also looks like he might get a chance at Newcastle. They get a lot of injuries on the wings, and they're also losing Almiron. They're losing him, so there will be space available. They've also lost another guy on the wing who I can't remember the name of. I think he's Scottish. They released him on a free. I can't remember his name. They've had him for years. He's gone as well, so there might be space with the likes of Only, Harvey Barnes, Gordon, the Irish guy who I can't remember the name of, and that's it. So there could be space for him. So it might be worth him staying. And they play with wingers, and we play with attacking forwards. So it might be a little bit of a different formation. I don't know. but it looks like Yakubu Minter is not going to be happening, and we might as well put that one to bed. Next up, so I'm just going to close those tabs. Next up is this one, which is very interesting. So it looks like we're going to wait till the end of the year to sort out Virgil van Dijk's contract. So there hasn't been any breakthrough talks on any of the trio, and Virgil van Dijk is going to be put on hold until the end of the year. Obviously we're chasing centre backs, but there's not specifically a centre back that's going to like replace Virgil. But we're looking at Pacho, Yenny Loro. We're not gonna sign Yenny Loro. Man United put a £51 million bid for him and got it rejected. So they're going to be looking for like 60, 70 million for him. I just don't think we're going to spend that on an 18-year-old. I can't see that happening. Also, Joe Gomez is still available. He's still at the club. I think there's a good chance he might play a bit more, and he might be used as a centre back, which would make sense because he is a centre back and he's a really good one. Anyway, that's the update on Virgil. I've got more info here as well for Liverpool Echo. So it looks like there's a lot more talk around Luis Diaz going, but there's also a lot of talk around Federico Chiesa, and I've talked about this Chiesa thing for a while. It's also an interesting one because Juventus have just got a new manager in Thiago Motta, and he's got 1 year left on his contract, Chiesa. Chiesa can play right across the front, and he's a massive big time player, like big game player, really is. If we could get Chiesa for like 20 million, I just think that's an absolute bargain. Like you're never going to be able to get a better deal than that. I understand he's had a couple of bad injuries. Like I understand that, but he's still a big player. Like one of Juve's stars. You get him at our club for 25 million, and he can replace Diaz, and he can also cover for Salah. Like I just think that's a real shrewd signing. It's an interesting one. And that's the update on Diaz. Obviously, a bit more news on Chiesa. It's making the rounds. The Reds are expected to be active in the window. Tuto Juve are claiming that Chiesa may be leaving the club in the summer. Chiesa is now available for as low as 26 million. Liverpool and Manchester United have been mentioned the clubs who could look at signing the Italian. He's been linked with us a lot. Like he really has been linked with us a lot. I think he'd be sensational. Anyway, so that's another player that's been linked. Also, kind of want to put this one to bed early. So Florian Wirtz has already agreed on a provisional contract with Real Madrid next year. That's where he's going to go. Wirtz was obviously one of the key players. So they're looking at replacing. Spanish outlet Marca states Wirtz will remain at Leverkusen for another season, but could join Real Madrid. Therefore, along with Alonso, a price tag of 127 million is being touted. When Alonso moves, afternoon, Colin. When Alonso moves to Real Madrid, he'll be taking Wirtz with him. And we just need to just put that one to bed. Like, I know people want him, but he's not coming to Liverpool. He's going to go to Real Madrid with Xabi Alonso, and that's going to be it. Okay. I've got a few things I want to share. That's the Chiesa stuff done. I've obviously just covered Luis Diaz. I've got more stuff on Luis Diaz, by the way. Inacio, that one's done. Adrian's done. Yep, going to cover this one. Okay. Liverpool have concrete interest in 22-year-old Manchester United target this summer. That's more about Inacio. That's from Court Offside, which is another big outlet. 51 million release clause will need to be activated. That's just been updated today. So I've seen more stuff on that. I know there's stuff around 40 million. But Inacio, it's going to take the 50 million to get him. And I think that's that. Also going to share this one as well. There's been a lot of like similarities that people have talked about, saying that Edison reminds a lot of people of Gattuso, and you remember how good Gattuso was. Gattuso was an absolute monster. I just think this guy would be sensational for us. I really do. I think he'd come straight in and he'd just fill the Fabinho role that we've been crying out for so long. We've missed that player for so long. He's also really technical, which is what Fabinho was. To have a player that can do both those things is just, it's like a myth, being able to get a player that can do those two things. And I also think if we signed him, it would help Stefan, because Stefan wouldn't be launched straight into the first team to be able to cover for Endo, because it would be Edison and then Endo would be covering for Edison, and Stefan could maybe go out on loan, or he could maybe just play some of the cup games. But I just feel like Stefan probably needs a good loan under his belt. You know, maybe send him to RB Salzburg. You know, maybe get him a loan to one of those kind of clubs. You know, so he can get a good 30 games under his belt next season, and then he's ready to take over from Endo, and then Endo can move on because it'd be like 32 then. You know, that would just make sense. Liverpool just maybe start doing things differently. More links as well to Edison. Liverpool will soon present a bid of 45 to 50 million euros to sign Edison. That's from the Ladia. You know, there's plenty of links to Edison. Timo Cooper Myers obviously got injured yesterday. they're probably only going to sell one of them, so we kind of need to get this one done and dusted. Edison links again. This one's in Liverpool World. I'm just showing you how many links there are. Okay. Right. Next one is this one's popped back up again. There's a lot of people that don't want him, and I get that because he's only had one real good season. But it does look like we are still in the race for this guy. And I think the reason why we cooled our interest is because we were looking at Michael Elise. But Elise looks like he's going to Chelsea. And if Elise wants to not play Champions League football next season, then that's fine. Then that just shows his ambition. And if he wants to just follow the money, like everyone else at Chelsea, then that's just fine. You can do that, mate. You can do that. He also came from Feyenoord. I mean, they want 35 million for him. They're just not going to get that. He cost them 1.2 million 4 years ago. If we could get him for 20 million, I think that's a good piece of business. He scored 19 goals, 23 goals in total last season, but 19 goals in the championship. He's voted the best championship player. He had a breakout season. We've been looking at him for a while. The committee might have more on him, and he might fit all of their data, which is maybe what we're not looking at. But all I can say is we will not pay 35 million for this guy. If we got him for less, 20 million, maybe 20 million with 5 million add-ons, I don't see that as bad business. He plays right across the front line. I'd rather we looked at Elise, but if Elise is 60 million and we're not willing to go that high, then he could be an alternative. That's it really. That's all I got on him. I've got some other news as well. And this is a real interesting one. And I'm going to kind of read this out separately. Where is it? Ooh, I've got it on another screen that I'm going to just read out separately. So my eyes might be looking somewhere else, but okay. So it looks like Youssouf Fofana from Monaco is 100% leaving. He hasn't picked a new club, and there doesn't seem to be any mention of any clubs in for him at the moment. But he's 100% leaving, and that's from Fabrizio Romano. It also looks like Jared Braithwaite is leaving Everton as well. He's going to cost 75 million plus. So I thought he was going to go for less, but Everton rate him as much as a Youssouf Fofana or a Joseph Guardel. So I think Braithwaite might break the English transfer record for defender. I think he probably will. I think he's going to cost 80 million, maybe more. Also, and this is a really interesting one. Kitchfer Cavaschelli has signed a new contract at Napoli, so he's not going to PSG, and he's also not going to be available. So people can calm down now because he's staying at Napoli. Staying at Napoli, Victor Osimhen. This is an interesting one because this kind of ties in with Mo Salah. Al Hilal have offered 120 million euros for Victor Osimhen. Obviously, Osimhen turned down going to Saudi League last season. If he does go, then that will kind of put an end to Mo Salah going to Al Hilal, because that will be their marquee signing. And yeah, I thought that was an interesting one. Arsenal are looking to sign Douglas Luiz. This is 100% confirmation. He's a player that so they've obviously let a couple of players go, Arsenal, and there'll be a couple of players leaving Arsenal from the midfield, so they will have space. And he's going to cost 50 million, and he's a player that Arteta's liked when he was at Man City, because he was there then, so he knows him well. A real interesting one is this one, which I think a lot of people will just laugh at. Manchester City are going to offer Phil Foden a £375,000 a week contract to make him the highest paid British player. I thought you'd laugh at that one, because they've obviously got no money. Also, Yakubu Minter's definitely been ruled out. That was in the Mirror Football today. Another interesting one is Kieran Tierney from Arsenal is available for 10 million as a left back. If the guy wasn't injured all the time, I'd definitely take him. I think he's a great player. He's an Andy Robinson replacement. He's a really good player, but he's always injured. Gareth Southgate isn't going to Man United. That's not happening now. Also, Sofran Amrabat could be staying at Manchester United. Do you remember he's actually on loan with a buyout clause? And a really interesting one, which I think a lot of people are going to get excited, is Matthias de Ligt has been put up for sale by Bayern Munich. That's from Florian Pettenberg. He's on a huge amount of wages, but would you want him at Liverpool? Yes or no? Florian de Ligt? Sorry, Florian de Ligt. I've just mugged up two names. Matthias de Ligt. Would you take him at Liverpool? Douglas Luiz. Douglas Luiz has just signed a new contract. He just said he said a week ago he wanted to leave. Okay, so you don't want Florian de Ligt, and also Benjamin Sesko has signed a new contract at RB Leipzig, so he's not coming to the Premier League. So all that stuff that the football terrorists have been posting about Sesko going to Arsenal, Sesko going to Chelsea, Sesko going to Man United, he's not going anywhere. He's staying at RB Leipzig. So there's just so much nonsense which gets mentioned in on these football channels about players going where and doing what. It's just like not going to happen. Is there any stuff you want me to cover? Because I've got 10 minutes left before I'm finishing. Also, Bayern Munich are looking for deals for Kimmich. They've offered him a contract extension and he's turned it down. Yeah, so they've turned it down. Also, Joshua Zirkzee, who's a really highly rated Dutch player. He's going to AC Milan. He's going to be their highest transfer they've ever signed in 40 million. I mean, that's crazy. Like, that's a crazy amount of money. Newcastle have agreed terms with James Trafford, but they can't sort out the price. That's going to be 20 million plus. Manchester United want to sell Jadon Sancho. They want 40 million for the winger. Would you take him at Liverpool? Would you take Jadon Sancho at Liverpool for 40 million? Yes or no in the chat. That's from the BBC. Napoli have offered 12 million for Lukaku. 12 million for Lukaku, and they want 38 million. A little bit low. Pochettino's not going to be the next Manchester United manager. I think it might be De Zerbi, if I'm honest. The Thomas Tuchel one's interesting as well. Thomas Tuchel turned down Man United as well. Like, everyone turns down Man United. The club is just a joke. Kylian Mbappe, his wages are going to be announced soon. They are just mental wages. He's on over $1 million a week. Alvaro Morata's returning back to Juventus. He wants to go back to Italy. Amadou Onana says he wants to play for Arsenal because he wants to play for a club which has got more international status, and it also gets him into the Belgium team more. He had a really good end of season, actually. Eze's release clause is 60 million. That's now been released. Obviously, Liverpool have been linked with him, but I just think he's injury prone. I really do. I just think he's another Keita. Like, he's got all the talent in the world, but his legs haven't got it. Also, Marco Silva could become Nottingham Forest's manager if Nuno Espirito de Santos leaves, because he's on the verge of getting a sack. Celtic are willing to sell their Japanese international Kogo Fukushiji for 25 million. He's been linked with a couple of Premier League clubs as well. Man United are looking to buy the Seville striker En-Nesyri. He's another guy that's like quite old, going to be on ridiculous wages. Also Frenkie de Jong will receive a fixed salary of 44 million for the next 2 seasons at Barcelona. That's just bonkers. 20 million he'll get in 24-25 and 24 million the following season, because these are deferred wages that he hasn't had. Like, De Jong is on mental wages. Solanke's available for 65 million. He's heavily linked to Arsenal. Obviously, Arsenal aren't getting Sesko now. They're going to have 50 million burning. If they sign Dominic Solanke, we get 15 million off that deal because of the add-ons. That's just great business. Michael Edwards is a genius. Like, he got 25 million for him in the first place, and if we get 15 million on top of that when he gets sold, that's just great business. It really is. Obviously, Juventus are trying to get Douglas Luiz, and they're throwing in Weston McKennie as a sweetener. But I think he might go to Arsenal. Jose Mourinho's looking at a couple of horrible players from Manchester United. One of them's Mason Greenwood. Good riddance. Get rid of him. Chiesa's available. Loads of clubs are looking at him. Napoli are also a club which are looking at him. That would be interesting if he moved to Napoli. You know, he is a guy that might well stay in England, in Italy. Wow, most expensive teenagers of all time list has come out. Mbappe is number one for 180 million euros. João Felix, 127 million euros. De Ligt, 85 million euros when he went from Ajax to Juventus. He wouldn't cost 85 million euros now, De Ligt. We'd probably get him for like 40. Guess who's fourth in the most expensive teenagers sold? He's in the Premier League. Guess who's fourth? Anyone? Fourth most expensive teenager. He's in the Premier League. No. Lavia, 62 million euros. And then you've got Anthony Martial, 60 million euros. Endrick, 45 million euros. Rodrigo, 45 million euros. I didn't know Rodrigo and Vinicius both cost 45 million euros when they were kids. That's insane. Roque was 40 million euros to Barcelona. That's a really interesting player, Roque. Like, apparently he doesn't want to stay at Barcelona. And then you've got Silva, who's the kid that went to Wolves for 40 million euros from Porto. And he was crap. Any more transfer stuff I've got? Leicester City are going for Graham Potter to replace the guy that went to Chelsea. Manchester United have made a second bid of 51 million for João Neves. That's been rejected. They want 103 million for him. James Trafford's going to cost over 20 million. Chelsea are on the verge of signing another Brazilian kid called Pedro Lima. He's going to cost nearly 20 million. I don't know how they've got money. Gundogan will stay at Barcelona. Any more stuff? Christian Nkunku. There's been a secret bid for him. He might well be sold because of his injury problems, which is interesting. Sporting director Deco is trying to do a swap deal with Rafinha and Luis Diaz. That's in the Daily Express. That is never going to happen. We ain't taking that guy in return. Bernardo Silva is trying to convince João Neves to join Man United. They're just not going to budge. They want Benfica want crazy money for their players. Dortmund are considering Lyon defender Jake O'Brien. Everton and AC Milan are also interested in him. Seems to be quite a few Irish and Scottish players abroad, doing quite well in Italy and France, which is interesting. Brighton have had a work permit granted for St. Paul's American coach Fabian Hertzler. Fabian Hertzler is only 31 years old. That's insane. That's insane that Brighton could have a 31-year-old manager. like in the Premier League. Tottenham and Bayern Munich are interested in Stuttgart's 26-year-old winger, Chris Führich. I think he's a German international now. We've been linked with Alan Varela, but that was a few days ago. It's just never going to happen. He's not a big enough player. Manchester United are linked with Adam Wharton. He's going to cost 80 million. I just don't think he's played enough games for me. Not yet, anyway. Bayern Munich are on the verge of signing João Palhinha for 38 million. That's incredible if they get João Palhinha for 38 million, because they had a deal for 90 million done last year. How would you feel if Fulham, you had a guy that was literally in the shirt for 90 million done, and it never happened, and then you have to sell him for half? You lose 40 million in a year. And João Palhinha didn't have a bad season. He had a great season. He was brilliant for them. Bruno Guimaraes is going to stay at Newcastle. Like, that's in the Daily Mirror. He's happy. I mean, he's just bought a new house. I think he's got kids now. I mean, yeah. Aston Villa have got to sell 60 million worth of players to avoid breach, which is why Douglas Luiz is one of the players that they're looking to get rid of. Who else have we got? Johnny Evans has been offered a new contract. Jokes, but he was actually decent last season. Any others? Alphonso Davies is probably going to extend his contract at Bayern. Jonathan David will leave Lille in the summer, with a load of Premier League clubs interested. That'll probably be the lower teams, won't it? You'll probably end up at like a Brentford or even a Brighton or someone like that. Manchester City are not going to sell Julian Alves. So all the stuff you've heard about it is bollocks. He was talking to PSG, but they're not going to sell him. And if they do, it will be an insane amount of money. Sadio Mane is going to leave Al Nassr. Al Quadazi are interested in him, which is another one of their clubs. So he'll probably just switch clubs. Barcelona aren't going to be signing Xavi Simons. He's not a priority for Hansi Flick. Ten Hag might well stay as the manager. Dennis Pratt, Marco Brighton, and Kechi Inacio have all left Leicester City as free agents. Would you take Inacio? Sorry, in what's his name? Inacio, the striker from Leicester, as a backup player. Would you take him? In the chat, he's available on a free. Jamie Vardy signed a new contract, so he's going to be coming up and staying, doing a season in the Premier League. 6 players will be allowed to leave Bayern Munich: Kingsley Coman, Serge Gnabry, Leon Goretzka, Joshua Kimmich, Nosimar Mazzouri. Nosimar Mazzouri, I would take at Liverpool. I think he's a really good player. And Matthias de Ligt. I haven't got any more updates. Tony Cruz is going to stay at Real Madrid as an academy coach. And last bit of info, Kobe Mainoo's going to sign a new contract for 60,000 a week as a 19-year-old. And what else have I got? Bayer Leverkusen are set to sign Bello Can, he's a 50 on 15 million. He's from the French league. I think he's a midfielder. I haven't got any more updates. And Dortmund have made a 25 million euro bid for Ian Matson. So they could get some money back, basically, for the FFP. And also Arsenal centre-back Gabriel has said that he wants to move back to Brazil and play for Corinthians, which is interesting. And Conor Gallagher could stay at Chelsea despite Aston Villa and Tottenham interest. He can leave on a free transfer next year, apparently. Obviously, Man United made a 60 million euro bid for Lenny Yoro. That got rejected. Chelsea have made Elise one of their top targets, but he will cost an absolute fortune because the release clause isn't available for Chelsea. Dominic Calvert-Lewin is looking to leave on a free transfer next year. He's got 1 year left. And that is all the updates I've got right now for everyone. I'm out of here, guys and girls. Hope you enjoyed the show. If you want to watch it back, if you join late, because I've just noticed I've gone up to like 30 people now. I've done loads and loads of stuff about loads of players. I still think we're looking for a DM. I still think we're looking for a left-sided left centre back. Robbo's also injured for Scotland. We might need to look at a left back now because Robbo seems to be getting injured. Apologies about the dog barking. If you haven't liked or subscribed, please do. And I will be doing another show on Friday. And if I'm doing any other shows during the week with Jamie or G or Ens or Monts, I'll put in an update in the calendar and you'll be able to see on the community bit where I share in the comments. Aaron Hickey's an interesting one. We have looked at a couple of Brentford players. Obviously, Mbuemo's come up, but that's been mooted. I think Lloyd Kelly's going to Newcastle. They've also just, I think, they missed out on Toyson because he went to Chelsea. I think he just wanted to stay in London. He's from Fulham, so yeah, big up, mate, big up. Not for me. Gallagher's not for me. Sorry, it's just not. He's got really poor control most of the time. Most of the time, he wins all his tackles and he does a lot of running around because he's made the mistake that caused the error in the first place. I don't know about Elise. I don't know whether we're going in for him or not. I'm not sure he'll leave Italy either, but we don't know. That's all the updates I've got. All right. I'm off out for lunch. You have a great day, and I'll catch up with you on Friday. Peace.
Just hold me tight, no